We've been exploring where we are and what it is that's present when, for the most part, our karma's been burned, our conditioning has been stripped away, and our belief systems dropped. There's that story about the king. He was very fair. He ensured that the laws of the land were adhered to, that there was grain in the granaries to feed the populace, that his army was well trained to keep marauders out from his kingdom's borders, and so on. But he needed diversions, and one of the diversions that he loved was to go hunting. One day he was out hunting with his entourage when he, on his great stallion, chased a deer deep into the forest, and so he left his entourage behind, and the deer disappeared, and he found himself somewhat lost, rather tired and thirsty. So he alighted from his horse and found a shady spot under a great tree. And he was just about to close his eyes to nap when suddenly he heard the crackling of leaves and looked up to find a man standing close to him. He immediately jumped up, took out his dagger, and facing the man said, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" It was an old man, and the old man looked at the king and said, "Sire, don't you recognize me? I am Ahmad Khan. I, like my father before me, have served you for many decades, taking care of the horses in your stables. I know every stallion and every mare. I know their sires and their dams. I know their ways." The king was suddenly abashed and chastened and humbled. And in that moment, a great shift of perception took place. And placing the dagger back in its sheath, taking the lead of his great horse that was tethered nearby, he took the arm of Ahmad Khan, and they walked slowly back to the palace, all the while the king listening to the story of the life of this old being who had been in service to him for so long. When he returned to his palace, from that moment on, his ways changed. He learned the names of his people. He listened to their stories. He learned their ways. And never again did he feel in the need of diversions. His life was full to overflowing. Then there's another little anecdote of the Buddha. And the Buddha was walking down the road with one of the great Indian Rajas. When coming the other way, there was a group of monks who came from a sect in which their adherents wore no clothing. They did not cut their beards or their hair or their fingernails. So taking his leave of the Buddha, the Raja went over to this group of monks and he bowed low before them and exchanged greetings with them before bowing several times again and returning to the Buddha's side. When he returned to the side of the Buddha, he said, "Master, tell me, how do we know whether someone is enlightened or not? How would we know in this group of monks where they are at, what stage of enlightenment or arhatship they have attained?" And the Buddha said to the king, "You know the ways of a king, but to know and understand whether a person is enlightened or not, one must see them and know them." And the king said, "Oh, I believe I understand. It's like when I send spies to a foreign country and they return, but I do not know them until they remove their disguises, their masks." What's the meaning of these stories for us? In answering the question, where are we and what is it that is present for us? Our relationship with life. We've dropped our masks, our weapons, our shields. We've taken off all our ego garments, become naked. Empty. What is it that's present for us now in relationship to life? Now we are in this place. What does it mean to see and know?
That's what the king did, because he was living in his roll, and then he dropped it to see what was in front of him. So then he didn't need entertainment.
No. Isn't it so with us?
And the monks, I can understand why that Raja asked the question, because they all had their uniform on.
Yes.
It was a naked uniform, but it was a...
Yes.
So the only way you'd know who they are is really to have the conversation with them.
Yes. Intensely, isn't it? What is it that's there when you're painting someone's face? What is it that's there when you're handing your money to the checkout girl at the counter?
I feel that we are just beings, just be, and be together, and no separation.
Yes. So when we say seeing and knowing, what is this seeing and knowing when there's no separation? When we're so intensely present with the reality in front of us, what is seeing and knowing? Perhaps we need to explore that a little more.
I think it's just see as it is without judgment.
Yes, yes.
And judgment equal mind. And the moment mind comes and judgment comes and
Yes.
separation.
Yeah.